everyone thought it was over, that Amy had finally moved on, that Ty Borden was gone for good. But Heartland Season 19 just flipped everything on its head, and fans can't stop talking about it. Episode 1 delivers something no one saw coming, a moment that changes the entire course of the series. And yes, Ty Borden's presence steals the spotlight in a way that feels both impossible and completely real. Season 19 begins with a tone that feels quieter, almost meditative. Amy Fleming is back at the ranch, focused on the day-to-day rhythm of her life. There's no grand adventure, no dramatic shakeup in the first few scenes. Instead, there's a stillness, a sense that time has passed, but something is unresolved. Amy has poured her energy into the new equine therapy center, dedicating the space to Ty's memory. It's clear she's been trying to heal by helping others, but the audience quickly senses that her own healing isn't finished. And then it happens. What begins as a simple home video discovery turns into the spark that sets Season 19 ablaze. Lindy, Amy, and Ty's daughter finds an old SD card tucked away in one of Jack's storage boxes in the barn. Amy brushes it off at first, assuming it's a forgotten file from years ago, but when she finally plugs it in, her world shifts. The screen flickers, and Ty appears, not in a flashback, not in a recycled scene, but in a moment no one has ever seen before. He's talking to the camera, a message recorded before his passing, meant for Amy and Lindy. Suddenly the air changes. That familiar calm strength in Ty's voice, the gentle way he speaks about family, about love, about the future he hoped they'd have, it crashes into the present like a tidal wave. For the audience, it's an emotional gut punch. For Amy, it's something else entirely. A key. A message so personal, so intentional, it begins to shift her entire path forward. This is where the writers pull off something subtle but powerful. Ty's video isn't just a sweet callback. It becomes the emotional engine that powers the season. He speaks about things Amy hasn't been able to say out loud. About fear. About holding on too tightly. About letting go of guilt. And in doing so, he opens the door to the next phase of her life. But here's where the suspense creeps in. Ty mentions something strange in the video. He talks about a gift he left behind, something meant for Lindy. He says Amy will know it when she finds it, and that it will bring peace, not just to them, but to the ranch itself. It's cryptic. Amy rewatches it, again and again, trying to make sense of it. Jack and Lou think it's just Ty being poetic, but Amy feels differently. There's something in his words, like he's pointing her towards something hidden. And just like that, the quiet season opener becomes a mystery. Amy begins digging into the past, not in a way that reopens old wounds, but in a way that reveals new layers. She searches through Ty's old journals, talks to Caleb and Scott, even visits places they hadn't been to in years. The therapy center continues to grow, but now there's a deeper meaning behind it all. Ty's message isn't just emotional closure, it's a challenge, a call to action. Meanwhile, strange things start happening around the ranch. Not supernatural, this isn't that kind of show, but things that feel too timely to be coincidence. A lost horse returns on its own. A letter arrives addressed to Ty from someone no one in the family knows. A photo appears in Jack's cabin of Ty with a man Amy doesn't recognize. Piece by piece, the story begins to unfold, and every clue brings Amy closer to what Ty was really trying to say. And this is only the beginning. Amy's world slowly begins to shift, and it's not just about the grief anymore. It's about questions, big ones. What did Ty mean by the gift? Where is it? And why does it feel like this message, this last echo of his voice, is arriving now, just when she's finally beginning to move forward? The mystery grows deeper when Amy visits Scott and Hudson. She shares the video privately with him, hoping for insight. At first, Scott is just as confused, but when Ty mentions a promise made under a broken sky, something clicks. Scott remembers an old camping trip he and Ty took years ago, right before Ty and Amy were married. It was up north, remote, quiet, and meaningful. Ty had opened up about building a future, not just with Amy, but with the land itself. He had dreams bigger than the ranch, dreams Amy never knew about. Amy decides to follow the thread. With Lindy staying with Lou for the weekend, Amy takes a solo trip to the spots Scott remembered. The camera lingers on the wide-open landscape, the kind of scenery only Heartland can deliver. And then, buried near a fire pit under a pile of river stones, Amy finds it. A small metal box. Inside is a weathered notebook, filled with Ty's handwriting and an old key. The notebook is emotional and raw. Ty had written letters to Lindy before she was even born. Thoughts, hopes, fears, and sketches. Plans for a second therapy center, but this one different. A mobile version. Something he wanted to create for children in remote areas. The idea was never shared with Amy. He'd kept it quiet, unsure of how to make it real. But it's all there. Blueprints, outlines, names of people who could help. Ty's dream wasn't just to heal horses, it was to heal people who couldn't reach Heartland. And the key? No label, no hint. Just a cold, mysterious piece of metal that looks like it hasn't been used in years. When Amy returns to the ranch, she shows the key to Jack. His reaction is instant and unexpected. He stiffens, his eyes narrow. Then, carefully, he tells Amy that the key looks like one used in the old tack barn. But not their barn. The one Ty used when he first arrived at Heartland as a troubled teen. A place Jack hasn't visited in years, long since boarded up. Together, they go there. Dust and cobwebs cover the inside. Old saddles, cracked leather straps. But behind a stack of wooden crates, Amy finds something hidden in plain sight. A locked chest. When she uses the key, the lock clicks open. Inside is a flood of memories. Ty's earliest journals, his adoption paperwork, letters from his biological father, never read. And at the bottom, an envelope addressed simply, "For when you're ready." Amy opens it. It's a single page in Ty's handwriting, and it changes everything. In the letter, Ty talks about legacy, about the difference between letting go and moving forward. He writes that if Amy's reading the letter, it means she's finally strong enough to stop surviving and start living again. He tells her to stop holding herself back out of fear, to love again, to take risks, to trust that what they built together will never fade. And just like that, a new door opens, not just for Amy, but for the story itself. Suddenly, the question isn't just about what Ty left behind, it's about what's next. For Amy, for Lindy, for Heartland. Ty's voice may not return in every episode, but the mystery of his message, of how his dreams will live on, now drives the heartbeat of the season. But there's still more to uncover, because Ty wasn't the only one keeping secrets. As Amy begins to process everything, Lou starts digging through the financial side of the therapy center and finds a name she doesn't recognize on the original donor list. A donor who made a large, anonymous contribution 2 years ago, just months before Ty passed away. The name? RC Granger. Lou's never heard of him. Jack hasn't either. But when Peter hears it, he freezes. It's a name from Ty's past. A connection to someone he met during his time in juvenile detention. Someone Ty once said saved his life in ways no one ever knew. Who is RC Granger? Why did he invest in the center? And what does he know about Ty's unfinished dream? The answers lie ahead. But as the mystery deepens, one thing is certain. Ty Borden is no longer just a memory. In season 19, he's the quiet force moving every storyline forward, and no one in Heartland will ever be the same again. With Ty's letter still fresh in her mind, Amy begins to see things differently. His words haunt her, not in a painful way, but with the kind of gentle pressure that nudges you forward. Stop surviving. Start living. That one line echoes every time she hesitates. It becomes her compass, her challenge. And without realizing it, Amy begins to change. She starts reaching out, opening up, taking chances she wouldn't have just months ago. One of those chances? Contacting RC Granger, the mysterious man connected to Ty's past and the anonymous donor behind the therapy center. Lou helps her track him down. He's not in Alberta anymore. He's in Vancouver, running a quiet, low-profile nonprofit that helps former youth offenders rebuild their lives through animal therapy. Amy makes the call. At first, Granger is hesitant, distant, but when Amy explains who she is and what she found, his tone softens. He agrees to meet, but insists on doing so in person. And so, Amy, Jack, and Lou take a trip west. What they find isn't just answers, it's more history than they ever expected. Granger is a quiet, composed man in his 50s. Weathered, kind-eyed, he tells them everything. How he met Ty during his toughest years, how Ty almost gave up more than once, how he used to talk about a girl who saw something in him before he ever saw it in himself, and how he promised that if Ty ever got out and made something of himself, he'd do the same for someone else. Turns out, Ty kept that promise. He stayed in contact with Granger all those years, quietly donating to his program, volunteering when he could, sending letters of encouragement to struggling teens. And when Ty passed, a final letter arrived in Granger's mailbox. Inside was a request. If anything ever happens to me, help Amy build the center. Make sure she has what she needs, even if she never knows it was me who asked. It's a moment that hits Amy hard. She knew Ty was kind, but this was more than kindness. It was legacy. It was planning a future he knew he might not be part of, and still giving everything to make it possible. But there's one more thing. Granger hands Amy a USB stick. He says it was sent to him by Ty months before his death with instructions. Only show this to Amy when she's ready. Amy hesitates. Jack wants to open it right there, but Amy says no, not yet. Back home. Alone. The ride back to Heartland is quiet. Everyone is thinking, processing. Even Jack, who rarely lets his guard down, seems more emotional than usual. He admits something on the way. He always believed Ty had more to give, that somehow, even in his absence, he'd left behind a trail. I just didn't think we'd be lucky enough to find it. Back at the ranch, Amy waits until Lindy is asleep. The house is still, and the moonlight is pouring through the window. She plugs in the USB. The screen lights up. It's a recording. Ty again. But this time, it's not for Amy. It's for Lindy. He's sitting outside the ranch, the foothills behind him. It's sunset. He talks directly to his daughter, who at the time hadn't even learned to ride. He tells her about the land, about horses, about the family that will always protect her. He talks about making mistakes, learning from them, and never letting fear make your choices. He tells her that love is never really gone. It just changes shape. And no matter where she goes in life, Heartland will always be a part of her. Amy breaks down watching it. It's the kind of moment fans have dreamed of. Raw, emotional, and absolutely earned. Ty may be gone, but his voice, his presence, has never felt more alive. And in that moment, Amy realizes what the true gift was. It wasn't the notebook, or the donation, or even the recordings. It was faith. Faith in the future. In Amy, in Lindy, in the next generation. But as this emotional wave crests, a new thread quietly begins to pull at the edges of the story. Back at Heartland, Logan stumbles upon something strange while working in the stables, an old envelope buried under floorboards during a repair. Inside is a photo, and it changes everything. It shows Ty standing with someone unrecognizable, a man with dark hair, a tattoo just barely visible on his wrist. The date on the back is recent, just 6 months before Ty's death, but Ty never mentioned this man. No one's ever seen him before. And beside the photo is a name, Daniel. No last name, no context. Logan shows it to Jack. Jack takes one look and says, "That's not someone from Ty's past, that's someone from mine." And just like that, the story pivots again. Because while Amy has been chasing Ty's message, there's been another story hiding in the shadows. A connection buried deeper than anyone thought. And as Logan, Jack, and Amy begin to dig, they uncover a history that may reveal a side of Ty and Heartland that's never been told before. The photograph becomes the key that unlocks a final door. For weeks, Amy, Jack, and Logan quietly investigate the man named Daniel. But answers don't come easily. No records, no full name, no connection that makes any sense, until Jack confesses something he's kept buried for decades. Years before Ty ever came to Heartland, before Amy even knew who he was, Jack had a falling out with a childhood friend, someone who made a series of bad choices, got in trouble with the law, and disappeared from Hudson for good. That man's name was Daniel Harper. Jack never spoke of him. Too painful, too complicated. But seeing that photo confirms what Jack feared. Daniel re-emerged sometime before Ty's death. And Ty had met him. Not only met him, but from the photo's body language, trusted him. So now the questions multiply. Why did Ty seek out a man Jack once called dangerous? Why would he keep it secret? And how does this tie into everything Ty left behind? Logan, hungry for answers, starts digging into Daniel's life. What he finds is unexpected. Daniel had started a small horse rescue on the edge of the province, way off the grid. No staff, no website, just a barn, a few rescued animals, and a mailbox full of unopened letters. One of those letters was from Ty. The handwriting matches perfectly. The message is short but direct. I'm ready to talk. If you're serious about turning things around, meet me. One last chance. Suddenly, the narrative shifts. Ty hadn't just been working on his therapy dreams, he was reaching into the past, helping someone others had given up on. The very thing others once did for him. The letter was dated only a few weeks before his death. Amy, Jack, and Logan travel to the site of Daniel's ranch. The place is abandoned, dust everywhere, tools rusted, but the horses are healthy, clearly cared for until recently. In the barn's office, Amy finds a notebook, and inside, scribbled notes and diagrams for a partnership program. Ty's name is written at the top of several pages. The two men had been planning something, quietly, privately, a collaboration to expand Heartland's reach to include troubled youth and rescued horses. But for reasons still unknown, it was never shared with the rest of the family. Was it because of Jack's past with Daniel, or something darker? Just as they begin to leave, Amy spots a locked drawer in the office desk. Logan picks it open. Inside, a phone. Dead, covered in dust. But when they charge it, everything becomes clear. Photos, emails, voice messages between Ty and Daniel. Over the course of nearly a year, they'd grown close. Two men from broken pasts trying to build something redemptive. Ty had offered him land on the outer edge of Heartland's property, under the condition that Daniel stayed clean, stayed honest, and worked only with Jack's approval. But Daniel had hesitated. Then, one last message. I'm ready. I'm clean. I want to meet with Jack. Let's make this right. It's dated 2 days before Ty's death. The implication is heavy. Ty died before he could finalize the deal, before he could introduce Daniel to the family, before Jack ever had a chance to forgive. Amy breaks down. This wasn't just a legacy. It was a mission, and it was left unfinished. But here's where the writers of Heartland Season 19 make a bold move. Instead of ending with full closure, they end with possibility. Amy, Jack, and Logan return home, hearts full and minds racing. They gather Lou, Peter, Katie, and even Caleb. And for the first time in a long while, the entire family sits around the fire, not mourning the past, but planning the future. Amy shares Ty's full vision. The second therapy center, the youth program, the outreach initiative to bring Heartland's healing power beyond its fences. And she tells them about Daniel, about how Ty believed people can change, that if Ty could be given a second chance, so could others. There's silence. Then Jack speaks. Maybe it's time I gave someone else that chance too. He agrees to meet Daniel, not out of obligation, but because he finally sees what Ty saw. Hope, forgiveness, a path forward. The final scenes are quiet, intimate. Amy's standing at the edge of the therapy center looking out at the horses. She places a small plaque beneath the main sign. It reads, "In memory of Ty Borden, not just a healer of horses, but of hearts." And then, just as the camera begins to fade, a truck pulls up in the distance. A man steps out. We don't see his face, but Amy turns and smiles. Not a sad smile, a hopeful one. Fade to black. This is how Heartland Season 19 sets the stage for something bigger, a season not just about grief, but about purpose, about the ripple effect of one man's life, and most of all, about how love never really ends. It just finds new ways to show up. Ty Borden may be gone, but this season proves he's never truly left. If you felt that emotional pull, if you believe Ty's legacy deserves more, don't forget to like this video, share it with other Heartland fans, and drop your thoughts in the comments. There's more story to tell, and maybe, just maybe, Season 20 is already on its way. Until then, thanks for watching.